Now, 4 years ago, the private cultivation and possession of cannabis was decriminalized, and today there are many who are hoping to get in on the action commercially in a further step. The cannabis industry has an estimated turnover of 28 billion rands a year. A group of cannabis activists is preparing to go back to court to force the government to pass legislation creating a legal cannabis industry. We now speak to Myrtle Clarke, one of the applicants in the Constitutional Court case. Now, Myrtle, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Let's begin by unpacking what the wide spectrum consists of when it comes to the commercialization of cannabis. For the layman, what would these products include?
Hello, Katlego, and thank you so much for having me on your show. The wide spectrum would be obviously the complete re-legalization of cannabis, the use, the cultivation, and the trade. As far as actual products are concerned, we have the most beautiful sun-kissed African cannabis here in our country. So this would involve actual flower products as well as products that have had a value add. Everything from cosmetics and edibles through to concentrates, medicines, regulated medicines, anything that can be made with the cannabis plant, as well as all the industrial applications. That's everything from socks to houses.
Sure, so that's quite a wide spectrum. Now, if the cannabis industry, and with all the products that you're mentioning, is estimated to turn around 28 billion rands a year, why do you think it is, or the reason for the reluctance from government to create that enabling environment?
I think that numbers like that don't do us any service in the cannabis industry. I think the government is reluctant because, first of all, they are overwhelmed by everything that's going on in our country and in the world. I think they are ignorant of the cannabis plant. You know, we've had nearly 100 years of cannabis prohibition, and there still is a terrible stigma around the cannabis plant. You know, I have been out on bail for 12 years, and I've watched the stigma reduce. But in some areas, it's very, very difficult to reach the people in terms of the good of the cannabis plant. And in our organization, Fields of Green for All, we don't like to speak too much about the good of the plant because that's obvious. We like to speak about the harms of prohibition. And I don't think that together with the stigma, the government really care that the police continue to harass and profile and lock up our community in cages, as well as extorting them. So it's a complicated issue. But as a cannabis community, we do have solutions.
And I think that was my next question, in the sense that, 4 years later, the Cannabis for Private Purpose Bill, which is currently before Parliament, has still not been passed and has been sent back to MPs. What's the impact on this, on ordinary citizens, and what education needs to be put in place for these stigmas that you speak of to be eradicated and for us to move a step forward?
Well, I think, first of all, as cannabis activists and a community as a whole, we really struggle to be heard. And we've seen this over the last 2 years with the Justice Portfolio Committee that is dealing with the cannabis bill. Fields of Green for All has had 3 opportunities to present to the committee. We've also sat through 6 different sessions of readings of the bill and various discussions. But each time they come back to us with a new version of the bill, it becomes more unconstitutional because of the stigma. I think what needs to happen is we either need to have a DACA commission, a large forum where the evidence can be heard and the government can come into the room with their evidence of the harms and why, if I grow too many cannabis plants, I'm still facing 15 years in jail. And then we can present our information about how the harms of cannabis are really affecting our country, particularly the youth, the unemployed, and the rural poor. But this is obviously not going to happen. You know, we can dream about a DACA commission. So myself and my late partner were in court in the Pretoria High Court in 2017. And the state, together with Doctors for Life, who are a fundamental Christian organization based in the Kwasizwe Bantu Mission in KZN, They came with over 5,000 extra pages of evidence during the first week of the trial and fully busted us out of court. So that is a trial part heard, and we're only dreaming of a DACA commission, so we have no choice but to go back to court, and that is what will be the biggest stigma buster of all, when the real evidence is heard.
What are you achieving, lastly, Myrtle, out of this court proceeding?
We are looking for the full re-legalization of cannabis across the 4 platforms of use. So that would be adult use, industrial use, uses for health, as well as traditional, cultural, and religious use. And everything else goes under those 4 platforms. And it really is a wide-ranging case. You know that there's also a case in front of the Labour Court at the moment, as well as the Hayes Club case in the Western Cape High Court. This is the overarching case, while the other issues get dealt with piecemeal in the various courts across the country. So we are looking for answers from the government as to why they think cannabis is so harmful. And we're also looking for government themselves, not the court, but government to acknowledge the hard work that has been put in by the cannabis community and look at our solutions. You know, we've published a manifesto that is a discussion document for the solutions, but I doubt whether anybody in government has read it yet.
All right. Ms. Clarke, thank you so much for your time. We do wish you all the best with this endeavor, and we do hope, because we do know, and some say that some of the easy solutions to eradicating poverty is for small households to grow cannabis and sell to bigger businesses and being able to make some money out of that. So we do hope that this fight of yours can be taken further. That is Myrtle Clarke, one of the applicants in the Cannabis Constitutional Court case.